What advice would you have for someone who wants to start competing in powerlifting? I've been asked this question a lot, and I've answered it a lot of times on different videos as well. And I think this is going to be a little bit different because the sport kind of evolves and changes each year. So the answer has evolved and changed, because I remember one of the first times I was asked this when I was doing these videos by myself with my camera on a tripod standing against a brick wall, was just to enter the meet. Just fuck it, just go enter and do it. And to some degree that's still true, but the level of beginner has dropped, where when I was given that answer 10 years ago, somebody already had 7-8 years gym experience. So it was easier for them to go in and just do the meet. Then the second part of it was telling people to spend more time, work their technique, and then just go. And now I think we're to a time where too many people, I think, are entering meets on a whim, you know, because their buddies are entering it. And I call these laser tag lifters, you know, because they just go to the meet, they don't really put much thought into it. So they're not really getting a very good experience with what powerlifting is. So the advice I now would give to somebody wanting to compete in their first meet is, first, pick the meet. Give yourself 16 or 20 weeks for the meet. Pick one, enter it, commit to it. That way you're kind of locked in and you have to do that. Then from that standpoint, regardless of your technique, unless it's just completely fucking terrible, try to get some type of baseline number or baseline max. And don't hurt yourself. I mean, if your squat really sucks, don't work up to a max on it, but work up on everything to see where it is. And don't use a fucking rep calculator. Don't try to say if you do a triple here, it will be a single here. Spend 3 weeks if you have to, and take one lift each week to kind of work up and see where you're at. Obviously have spotters, be safe, don't be an idiot, and get a good idea where you're at. And then there's your starting point. From that position, on whatever that number is, I would deduct 5 to 10% off of that, because the one thing you guys need to completely understand from day one is there's always going to be a difference between your competitive max and your training max. A more advanced lifter, it could be between 10 and 15%. A beginner lifter, it might be less. It might be 5%. It might actually be negative 5%. So when I say 5 to 10%, I'm giving a general average range, something easy to go by. Deduct that off whatever numbers you hit in the gym. I understand that those numbers in the gym are gym lifts, but we're taking the 10% off because they also are gym lifts. So it's better to go lower than to go higher and to miss sets as you go through. After you figure out what that is, leave your fucking ego aside and plan on trying to try to lift 10% more come the meet. So maybe that's lower than your expectations, maybe it's higher than your expectations, but it's enough to keep you committed to be able to train the majority of the time for the meet. I personally would like to see you train every day you're supposed to train for the meet, but the reality of the lifters coming into the sport now that I see is they're going to get 75% of the training sessions in on average. That's not saying that everybody doesn't do all the training sessions, but on average, that's usually about what I see. So you have to account for the person that's going to miss a session here and there because of whatever reason. And at that point, there's several things that you can do. You can find a coach if you want to go that route, or you can just work backwards. Just use a linear method of periodization. Take the number that you want to hit for the meet. You're not going to do that in the gym. You're going to hit your max, preferably for a triple, 2 weeks out from the meet, and that's going to be one of your last training sessions. And then just drop it back 5 to 10% each week for the 16 weeks, with about 4 weeks of 3s, 4 weeks of 5s, and then do some weeks of 8s. A couple sets are really all you need. You're just a beginner. I just made this very fucking simple using a linear model. After you do the main lift, how many times a week should you do the main lift? I don't give a fuck. You can do it once, you can do it twice, you can do it 3 times. I don't really fucking care. I'm more of a training economy guy. The less that you can do it and still make gains, the better it is. I'd rather see more of the time be spent on the accessories to build the musculature, to build the frame, to be able to support the weight, and not spend the whole training session just doing the competitive lift. You do need technique work. There's no doubt about that. So a beginner may need to squat 2-3 times a week, but only one of those times is actually going to be a work session. The other couple times might be a broomstick, or definitely weight under 40%, just working technique. Your technique is going to make you stronger than anything else at the very beginning of your powerlifting career. And then the accessories, base them around your torso working out. So abs, lower back, glutes, hips, out. So that's where the majority of it should be. I mean, it's pretty simple to find sample training programs on this method. You can find them on elitefts.com. We got tons of them. Or if you decide that you want to go more of a conjugate style of training, that's fine too. There's tons of samples out there to be able to do that. Don't make it too complicated. On max effort work, pick an exercise that's not the squat, bench, or deadlift. Work up, max out, do some accessories that work the main lifts, and then be done. On speed day, pick the lifts that you're going to use for your speed lifts, do those, do the accessories, and get out. I think people are making things way too complicated in the beginning phases. Just find any of the beginner templates or any of the basic training templates that are out there and follow it. As long as you're working your technique very hard all the time, you're going to get better. I've seen people on the most elaborate fucking programs come out and their technique just sucks. They would be better off using the shitty program and working good technique, and they would get stronger doing that, and then all the time that they're spending on this elaborate bullshit. So that's the advice I have there, is to put a little bit more thought into it than what I would have previously said before. So this way you kind of get the whole experience of what it's like to train for a meet, and then to do the meet, and to feel the accomplishment of actually setting yourself an objective and then working for it, doing it, and then achieving it. I think that's a far better route than just jumping in a meet and doing it.